This is quantum news and updates from Impact Quantum, where quantum headlines meet real-world impact.
Hello, everyone. Your eyes do not deceive you. This is my second live stream today, Candace.
I think that's great.
I feel super special.
I think you should.
I do. Not only do I have my hipster glasses on still, but in case you're wondering who the heck is this guy, I'm Frank Lavinia. You can catch me at the following URLs: franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and of course Impact Quantum. And with me is Candace Cooley. How's it going, Candace?
It's going great. It's going great. I'm very
Awesome.
excited. I'm very excited to do this live.
It is cool. I was talking to somebody the other day about like the march of technology, right? And obviously everyone thinks about AI, but like at one point to do what we're doing now would have required thousands of dollars of equipment. Yeah. And this is like 10 years ago. Like I remember when I was at Microsoft, my first stint at Microsoft, I was the one pushing for us to do more live streams out of the K Street office in DC.
Okay.
Right, because they would have these panel discussions all the time of, C-SPAN type stuff, right? Which not exactly mass market appeal. One guy was like, one firm would charge thousands of dollars per live stream, so they would hardly ever do it. And I'm like, we could do this with this particular type of equipment. It was a TriCaster Mini, and as the rest they say is history. So that TriCaster Mini was about $10,000, and this is 2013, 2014 is when this was thing. So here we are now. I could stream on my phone, I could stream on my laptop or whatever, all entirely in browser, which is pretty wild.
It makes people who are not technical feel technical,
right?
Because the tools are really easy to use.
And I think that's a good segue, because I think 10 years from now, we'll be looking at 2025, 2026 in very much the same vein for quantum, right? Mm-hmm. And we're already seeing kind of these big shifts. You were telling me about, let me share this tab. This story comes to us from Reuters. And let's see if I can get that up on the screen. Come on. IonQ to buy SkyWater for $1.8 billion. Now, I know inflation is a thing, but $1.8 billion is still a lot of money.
Right.
I think you can buy a house in the San Francisco Bay Area for about that now.
It's a tremendous amount of money that's coming out of a company that is not like Pepsi or Coke or like right. Not in a company that hasn't even been around a long time.
Right.
I mean, so it's surprising. It's a lot of money.
And it is still a lot of money. And apparently it's a hardware play, and yes. It's a cash for stock. And I think this is interesting. This is I think going to be the theme of the 2030s, and as we close out the 2020s, which is a very scary thing to say out loud. It's basically secure supply chains and chip manufacturing. I mean, this is going to be the story of this, right? Semiconductor manufacturing in-house and boost the next generation of quantum processors. Because I think, as most folks didn't know up until the pandemic, was our semiconductors are made basically in a very small geographic part of the world, right? Mm-hmm. Some of it on very contested real estate, like Taiwan and basically Shenzhen and kind of that part of the world. All it would take would be for one geopolitical crisis to go the wrong way, or a typhoon, or an earthquake, to really disrupt a vast majority of the supply of semiconductors in the world. And I think it's interesting that they, as a quantum computer company, are acquiring something for this. But it's fascinating to see how this works. So their stock rose 4% in early morning trading, and SkyWater rose 8%. That's typical. But you were telling me that today their stock was kind of down. Was that
right? So I read, so that they said that the stock dipped, like it dipped in late 2025, and then again dipped in early 2026. I think it dipped like a couple days ago. And it made me question, why did this happen right after the SkyWater deal was announced? And
interesting?
I thought, well, wait a minute, people should be into the idea of in-house chip fabrication. I mean, look what we're dealing with Taiwan, like just what you're saying. It's a limited regional ownership, and it's
Right.
better that if you're bringing it in-house, then you could there's more competition. But I wondered if maybe the moves that they were making were just too big, right? Because they
Well, if
also
you look now, they're up. They're up a little bit today.
okay, so maybe
But I
it
mean
was
that always happens though, right? Like people will, I don't know, like not that I'm a stock market genius, but weird things happens when people like buy and like there's acquisitions and stuff like that. Some of them go up, some of them go down. I can't figure out the rationale.
yeah, I
This is
don't know.
interesting.
But they're
This is
hitting
interesting.
everything. I was just looking at this, like we didn't talk about the acquisition of Skyloom Global.
Right. Apparently they have a thing for the sky. Um, because when you told me that, I'm looking for the tab.
And so
So I just did a search for acquisition, IonQ acquisition, and it said that they completed Skyloom Global. And I thought I remember this happening a little while ago. But I'm like, and then you sent me the link. I was like, yeah, November 25. And I was like, you sent me the link. No, that's SkyWater. This is Skyloom. So maybe Candace, you and I should start a company called Sky Quantum,
I'm telling you,
and
I'm
we'll give
telling
some of
you.
that sweet paper.
Yes, I'm all for it. So with SkyWater, you have hardware. With
Right,
Skyloom, it's all about quantum networking and
right.
communication capability, which is super important, right? Um, and then they did a software acquisition with something called Seed Innovations. And
Really?
yeah, and Seed Innovations, they have an expertise in AI driven software, machine learning, and cloud automation. And it's an idea that is to
So
scale quantum.
it
Mm,
sounds like they're building out the entire supply
yeah.
chain and
Hmm.
software supply chain. I mean, it sounds like they want to be like a big dog in this. It's looking like that. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. Like, you know, I mean, it's definitely. I think if anyone had any doubts about the future of what the quantum industry was going to be, I think when you start tossing around billions of dollars, like I said, that's now you're in real money, right?
Mm.
Like hundreds of millions of dollars is still real money. You might be able to buy a tiny condo in the Bay Area. Um,
Oh,
for a couple hundred million. You can buy a solid house in DC for a couple hundred million. So
right.
that's like I think Jeff Bezos's house was that. The county we used to live in, that would get you a nice big house.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, where I grew up, you get a nice little pad, you
not
know.
today though. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. But
But no, I mean this is serious money, and I think that you're going to see a lot of this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I want to tell you this because you're going to love this part.
Mhm.
So IonQ also brought on a new CIO with
Oh, really?
defense tech experience. Ha ha ha.
There it is. And
Uh,
if you check this out, like there's a lot of interesting here about the Department of War,
mhm.
formerly known as Department of Defense. Um, it's interesting how there's a ban now on QKD or quantum key distribution. Um, that's interesting. Now they're hiring the former CIO of IonQ.
Mhm.
That's interesting. $800 million revenue by 2027. That's just next year. I mean, this is very real.
Right. And I mean, remember we were talking about, the next iteration of,
Yeah.
where everything is going to go.
Right.
So yeah, this is kind of right up what we were talking about.
Right. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're up. Oh, depending on when this was written. So it's written in 2026. So they're already up 5%. So I guess maybe what happens is with stock, sometimes like it'll go up a certain amount and then people just dump it either through an automated thing like, hey, if it gets to this point, just dump it or whatever. But but it's up nearly 300% over the last 5 years. I mean, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So that's I'm telling you, like, this is the dawn of a new era. And this is the dawn of a new era. Speaking of defense military industrial complex, here's the interesting thing, it's called the Intelligence Community News, intelligencecommunitynews.com. I have no affiliation with them. I just somehow ended up on their I remember I spoke at an event that they hosted. That's how I got on their mailing list. That's why it came in from my work email, not I'm gonna call it Sky Quantum.
There we go, Sky Quantum. We gotta check that out, see if it's taken already.
Yeah, seriously. Although by the time we check, it will be.
Right, because right.
Just promise us a ride on your private jet. But basically, and for those outside of the DC Metro or Baltimore Metro, IC usually means intelligence community. But it's interesting how this is starting to become more and more of a thing, right? Like in the security space, quantum key distribution, quantum networking. We actually recorded an episode that's not out yet recently about quantum networking. Really brilliant conversation. But I mean, it's like it's interesting how now the focus is, and the show we released today was about quantum safety and quantum preparedness, right? And I think this is going to be another buzzword for the next decade, is quantum safe enterprise.
Yes.
Right. Obviously, the intelligence community is going to need it sooner than the average Joe or average Jane. But I mean, if you're a Fortune 500 company and you're not thinking about this, you're in trouble, right? Like we said in the show, right now is not the time to panic. Now, that comes later.
Right.
But certainly you need to start thinking about this now, right?
Even if your industry isn't, your industry isn't something that is going to be enhanced by quantum, then you're still going to have to secure the information that you have as a business, and that is going to make you have to delve into quantum encryption. It's just to protect your data.
Exactly. And if you're really worried about that, then there's also quantum networking, right? So like protecting your data, I think, is going to be the new baseline, like the table stakes of the future, right? Even now, right? I mean, it's just one of those things where even if you're in like you said, in a company industry, it doesn't really care about this. If you're in the business of, plowing driveways with snow, right? Quantum's probably not going to radically change how you do your day to day, but your data best be protected with that, lest, I can't imagine a nation state would be interested in getting access to your data, though. Stranger things have happened, but certainly once the script kiddies get their hold of this post-quantum stuff, everybody's at risk,
Right. Exactly.
So if you think you're immune, you're already in trouble.
Right.
And speaking of, this was an interesting.
Benita's brilliant. Really, this is a great episode.
This really was a great episode. And she does work for IBM, actually, and she is a leader very much tied into the same thing, right? Quantum safe initiatives.
Yes.
And there's actually a whole thing apparently at IBM about this. right? Making the world quantum safe. And yes, that is a red fedora you see behind me, right? So full disclosure, I do work in my day job for Red Hat, which is an IBM company, right? So I'm not, I don't know what the regulatory things I, have to say, but like, I mean, IBM really is on top of this.
And I said, call me IBM, give me a call. I'm ready to talk to you. Give me a call. So,
well,
but yeah, they
you're
really
like
are.
IBM. You're like IBM royalty,
Well,
right?
I
mean, your
gotta go
family.
by my maiden name, but yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
right. There's probably a conference room named after your dad or
it
something.
very
But,
well might be, right? But so go on. You're talking about the NIST post quantum cryptography standards. Absolutely, standards and practices. I mean, it's needed. There
oh,
has to be those
100%.
guidelines out there.
100%. My wife works at NIST. Not working on this. Although, did I ever tell you that story?
No, I
So
don't think so.
my older two boys, when we lived closer to NIST, went to the daycare center there, and there was some kid there who, you go there, you pick up your kids. Sometimes you chit chat with the parents, right? It's kind of a typical daycare, right? But one day they had this thing for, it might have been Mother's Day, like what does my mom do at work or something like that, and the kids put what their moms did, and then this one kid had like my mom works on post quantum cryptography, and this was, my God, I mean, to trying to think, like my oldest would have been in kindergarten, so this is like 11 years ago, and I was like, holy cow, that's cool. Like, so it's, I don't know, it's a small world, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. But NIST has been on this problem for a while, because I think a lot of people has been thinking about this for quite some time. I don't know where I was going with that, but
that's why understanding that, every business needs to protect their data. If everyone can kind of just understand that basic level, then it'll make adoption of new standards and practices. It'll happen, more smoothly.
100%.
So, like I just had a conversation with somebody, and we were just talking about climate. And I said, imagine when finally, we have, quantum efforts looking at climate predictions. And we, look at this massive craziness that happened over the past week, where everyone heard they were going to get snow. And I'm in Montreal, by the way. I just want to preface that by saying, and of course, my mom is in New York. So I'm like always obsessed with what's going on there because that's where I'm from. But, people are predicting what, like 2 inches to 25 inches.
That's what we got here in Maryland, was like, well, you're either going to get 2 inches or 2 feet. Like, it was kind of like, what? We ended up getting about 14 inches, I'd say.
Okay.
But again, it's relevant again because I haven't looked today, but there's a nor'easter brewing.
Yeah.
And depending how far it is from the coast, we're either going to get another significant snowfall, and for us, that's like 5-6 inches. 5-6 inches of snow is like a warm spring day in Montreal.
A day that ends in Y.
Right.
You're absolutely right. But seriously, just think of all the things it affects. I mean, everything from schools, right, to and then to flights, to airlines.
Oh yeah, I mean, flights have just been completely disrupted. There's in case you're wondering, Frank, why are you wearing these hipster glasses? I had a concussion almost a month ago, and like I was supposed to be in Vegas this week because there's a big internal conference at Red Hat going on, and my doctor's like, "There's no way in hell you're going." Basically, was kind of what he said, and but I mean, my God, I mean, I'm seeing stories about people being stuck, like, in Dallas and stuck here. Now, I think it's working its way through the system now, but still, I can't imagine what that would be like.
Oh, right.
And obviously news stories.
Yeah, it's but also not for nothing. In Toronto, which is, financial capital of Canada, Pearson, major international airport, it was hit with legitimately like 2 feet of snow.
And of all the airports in the world, that they're probably best equipped. Well, certainly in North America, like one of the best equipped to handle that sort of thing. But no, it's an interesting But I mean, I'm looking at the forecast for this weekend, and they're like, well, nothing will happen, or you'll get another dump of snow. Like, it doesn't really help for planning,
No,
right?
it really doesn't. And then people go crazy, and they go to the supermarket, and they wipe out the supermarket of eggs and milk and butter
And bread and
and you know, the salt that you put on the driveways, and and it's just like you can't. And it's really also a language thing, honest to goodness. Like, I watch the American news and the Canadian news every night, right? And the way they talk about the same storm is hilarious, because like in the States, it's like the death march across the country of snow, and people losing power, and just making it like apocalyptic, and then
well, in their defense, if you're like that's the thing. Like, if you're in the South, like they really can't handle this. I
no, like
was in
Tennessee got wiped out by several
right,
inches of snow because they just don't even know how to handle that. They don't ever get
uh,
it. That's fair. That makes sense. Do you know what I
but
mean?
like in Canada, most of Canada is north of a certain the 49th parallel or something
Mhm.
like that. Like the majority of it. So like snow would just like you said, it's a day ending in Y in Montreal. Like
Exactly. That's
at
dusting.
least here, at least in I'd say DC is about as far south as you go in the US where they can actually handle snow.
Okay.
And even then, people in Chicago will say we don't know how to handle snow. Yeah, I suppose compared to Chicago, but they can at least handle it. When I lived in Richmond, they wouldn't put salt down. They would do this thing where they throw sand down, and the only thing sand did was make a mess.
Yeah.
The floor mats in your car would be dirty, your rugs in your house would be dirty. That's the only thing it ever did. I never. Yeah, it was like it's salt. It's not complicated. Like, but nope. But again, they would get it so rarely that they just never invested in the infrastructure. I got stuck in my hotel in Dallas a couple of years ago when they had like 2 inches of snow and like a quarter inch of ice. Right.
Oh,
The ice is the dangerous
the
thing.
ice is hell. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
No one can drive on it, and you have to respect it. Nature is just stronger than you are, and you have to give in. I mean, that's like when I first moved here, and all of a sudden my kids had to have two pairs of shoes. You had your
Oh
winter
yeah, you were telling me
boots.
about that.
Made
Yeah.
me crazy. You had your winter boots, and then when they got inside the school, then they put on their sneakers. Okay. But they had to leave their sneakers at the school so that they would be there for them the next day. So if they
Oh,
had an
okay.
activity that they needed their sneakers at outside of school, well, then the kids had 3 pairs of shoes. It just was like,
Right.
but then you kind of got it, you know what I mean? Otherwise, everything would be wet, and kids would be schlepping around in heavy boots all the time. So
Right.
it just made sense. But
Oh,
anyway, we digress.
we digress. Just real quick, a special surprise. What's our special surprise, Candace?
Ooh, I'm very excited about this. I really, really am. We're going to be launching a new podcast, and it's going to be called Women in Quantum. And I'm really, really excited about it, because I want young women to understand that they get to be curious, and there gets to be a space for them in the ecosystem when they find out how different women that we're going to be speaking to all came upon quantum in very different ways.
That was the thing that really struck me. It was like, and not just women, men too, but like, the STEM fields tend to be male biased anyway. But like, you know, we've met some interesting characters since restarting this podcast almost a year ago.
Hmm.
And like the stories of how some people get to quantum are just like really like, wow, like how'd that happen?
Because it's not linear necessarily at
No,
all.
it
you
is
know
very nonlinear, which I suppose is very appropriate.
Very appropriate, absolutely,
Yeah.
apropos. But yeah, so like just today, I was speaking to this really exciting individual who was born in Russia,
Hmm.
and the experience that she had in school was very different than the experience the lady that I spoke to yet last week, who was born and raised in Egypt. Okay, and then there's another woman who I spoke to who was born and raised in Iran. And it's just incredibly interesting to see how very much the culture will define the opportunity.
Yes. By and large, I don't think we're completely victims of our circumstance, but yes, I mean, it definitely does set the tone. And yeah, no, I'm really, I haven't listened to the recordings yet, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm
Um,
really excited about it.
and
So
so we don't have a logo quite to reveal yet, but soon. So stay tuned, folks. And I have to jet. Um, but if you're listening to this, because we're also going to post this in the main feed too. You know, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching all that stuff. Any parting thoughts, Candace?
you know what? I want everyone to stay safe and be kind. And that's
I
my
like it.
parting note.
And stay warm too, because there's still winter.
Yes, yes, it is.
All right. With that, we'll play the outro music or outro animation, depending on which version you're listening to.
Quantum podcast, turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it's gold. The multiverse is skanking in time. Black holes are wailing in a horn line so fine. From Planck scales to planets, they're connecting the dots. Candace and Frank, they're the cosmic hot shot. Quantum podcast, turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it's gold.